this book will benefit. Next, we have Mr. Chhimi Dorji. Mr. Chhimi has worked in USA as a researcher and in Bhutan as a civil servant for a decade. Since the last 6 years, he has been working as a consultant on energy, environment, and water resources projects in Bhutan and South Asia. His recent work includes working with international agencies such as Asian Development Bank (UNDP), private companies, and governments of Bhutan. Mr. Chhimi is also a core-team member of Evaluation Association of Bhutan and executive committee member of Bhutan Water Partnership. He has been a national evaluation expert and evaluated projects on renewable energy, water resources, climate change, electric cars, and curriculum development. May I request Mr. Chhimi to share us on the practical experiences on MME.
Laszlo, thank you to the host. Congratulations to the team from Evaluate Bhutan for bringing this journey so far and culminating with this launch. And Dashidile, and wishing you all more luck to take this to all the objectives that are there for the group forward. And so it is a pleasure to be part of this very important occasion. And I will be sharing a very brief on my experience doing evaluations in Bhutan, and then also having read more about it. Next one, please. So one example that I can think of is where we did a evaluation for a cook stove project in Bhutan, and I would base a lot of what I would present here through my personal experiences. The main aim of that project was to reduce emissions, have cleaner homes, and save greenhouse gas emissions. After the evaluation was completed, we found out that yes, the goals of the project were achieved, and there were also monetary savings to the family. In addition, there were also skills gained. And another important aspect is that there are few changes required. So this highlights that yes, evaluation is needed to ascertain that the objective of the project is achieved, and there are quite often reasons that we have not foreseen, or issues that we have not foreseen, that calls for evaluation. Next slide. So this is the stove that we evaluated and looked at in depth. This was rolled out by a government agency in Bhutan, and based on all the technical assumption, it worked well in the laboratory, and then it did achieve the objectives of the project that I mentioned earlier. On the left side of the picture, if you see, it looks like it's used, it's fine, but on the right picture, what do we see there? It's more used like a table, right? It's not used as a stove, but more like a table, which means that, okay, there are certain issues with that. Then we looked further, and then the next one. Next slide. And then, based on the evaluation, we found that there are certain minor tweaks that we could do, and then make the stove more suitable to a larger sect of the society. So we have put in some dampeners. In the past, when the first project was rolled out, they have tried to cut down the cost and have minimized the metallic parts. But again, minimizing did not really help. So then we have put in the additional ashtray on the right picture, we can see, and then also tried to put some chimney brick. So that one of the problem we found out was when the government gave, through an NGO, gave the stoves to the villagers on a cost sharing basis, the length of the chimney was not adequate, because the height of the houses are different, right? So what then we realized was that, okay, should we start giving more chimneys? But then for smaller houses with smaller room height, it would be a waste. Then in that case, okay, let us have some flexibility with the help of this chimney brick, so that that is something that they can alter themselves at the site once they have the skills to do it. So we were able to make the small tweaks, and then the project objectives were realized even better. Next one. The other project that we did was for a donor-funded project in which a water supply project was implemented in various parts of Bhutan. The goal of the project was also to try out rainwater harvesting and basically bring water to the homes. Again, here the findings were, yes, the project objectives were achieved of having water at the homes or next to the house. And we could also see that there are better sanitation, the skills were gained, and there were some operational issues. So here, but then as you can see in the picture, for our young and emerging evaluators, is again, evaluation. I like evaluation because it's not just sitting at the desk and looking at a bunch of tables and numbers, but also going out to the field like this and getting the real life experience of how projects were designed, developed, implemented, and then you get to see how things have changed just within a span of 2-3 years and a few $100,000. Things change a lot, and getting to see that out in the field. Next picture, next slide, please. And to experience lifestyle like this. Now, even living in Bhutan, growing up here for almost the entire life, I mean, we know that it is quite different, but we are living in Thimphu, which is the capital, right? So a developed part of the country. And then getting to see and live in this kind of communities, it's paid tourism, I would say. So here is a good example of how a project, a water supply project life like this would have changed the life of someone living in a hut like that. It's actually, that hut is a house for not less than 5 people, a family, one-roomed apartment, one-room hut. So you get to experience those things as well and learn the basic fundamentals of life. Next one. And sometimes things are not always straightforward. You find out various technical glitches, where such as wires exposed or nuts missing, and sensors on the right, on the wrong side of the river, and so on. Next one. The other project that I evaluated and looked at was a rural electrification project. And as our former previous speakers also mentioned, I also like to share some stories of evaluations and projects that I have been involved in. And so here the goal of the project was that we would provide electricity in that particular village, and they would be clean homes. The source of energy that they would use be sustainable, renewable energy from a small micro hydro that we were developing there. And that the bottom underlying fact was also that there would be more time for economic activities. People would be able to, students would be able to study more, women would have more time to weave. A lot of assumptions. Guess what happened? The next slide, please. And then, yes, some of the things were achieved, but we also found out that television, a lot of the time, instead of, we thought that they will get time to more to socialize and study. Television is there in all the homes right after 2-3 months after the electrification project. Every home had managed to get a television, either through their savings or through their loans. And our expectation of saving time to study more because they have electricity turned out to be, I mean, by the way, these pictures are from the internet. And the bottom line here is what we were expecting didn't happen. And then also the next picture that you see here is gambling. That's what I have observed firsthand in that particular village after electricity comes in. In the past, because they were playing in candle lights, and then even when they were playing small games, it was, or like whatever they were doing were under candlelight and torch lamps, so not too much. But when there is electricity, they had the entire night to do whatever they wanted, and not all of them were productive or socially a lot of issues there. So please be cognizant that you could also be up for some surprises. Next one. And there are also, again, two experiences that I have not personally evaluated, but I have learned as part of my research and studies. One is a cook stove project, again, because we were trying to look at the experiences of how cook stoves have evolved over the years in different parts of the world. And when we're looking at this cook stove project in Kenya, for instance, uh, the what has happened was that they thought that initially the cook stove was inside the house, and then because of the presence of cook stove inside the house, it was making the house uh, dirty and smoky, not good. So the project decided that the cook stove should have a separate hut, and and then the cook stove itself was also modified a little bit. Then after the project, what has happened was, they in addition to the small hut, there was a small structure just for cooking, a kitchen, basically a one room kitchen, where there was the stove. And then the finding is that the women of the house who were mostly cooking, and the kids were also with the women who used to live in the main house along with the father or the brother or other family members, suddenly got moved from the main house to the hut. Since they were the ones cooking, the male and the other people in the house were nicely in the clean house, but in the smaller kitchen is the women and the children and some girls who were confined to that. So did the project actually help the women and those girls there? Not at all. So again, we need to be more holistic, gender and youth sensitive, because there are gender roles that we need to look at, as mentioned by our previous speakers. The other one is a water supply project that we studied more in depth. This was in Central Asia, uh, and the project was that, okay, women had to walk for hours to collect water from their homes, and it was consuming a lot of time. So what did that project do? Let's try to, the source is not maybe 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, half an hour walking distance. Then the project moved, built up a pipeline, brought the water next to the homes, not inside the house, but next to right in the middle of the village, next to homes, and each two to three village households were sharing that water tap. And then now the women had to collect the water, and then it was again mostly the women who were collecting water in that part of the world. And the collection of water, which initially used to take maybe 1 hour or half an hour, was done in 2 minutes. Just go out, get the feel of the water, and it's back in the house. The water collection job is done. Excellent project, right? But there was an underlying fact. A few years after the project was initiated, there have been an increase in number of suicide cases in that particular village. And what the researchers, I mean, we cannot really say that's just because of that, but then one of the correlation that they were able to make was the fact that until the water supply project came in, women got out of the house and had to walk for about half an hour. And that was the only time they could socialize with other women, share their problems, and get advices. After the water was just next to their house, because of the social structure that they were in, they did not have opportunity to go and interact with other women or other like-minded people to share their problems or get advices. So they were then confined into the house again. Another aspect to projects and things to keep in mind when we do evaluation. So in the interest of time, this is all I have to share. Once again, Thank you so much. This is my email and the website that I try to operate from. Thank you very much. And once again, Tashidele to the group.